Prepare to be searched. Maintain speed and course. No contraband detected. You may proceed.
Welcome back. This is our first interplanetary mission. We are headed to Burton in the Junction system with our cargo load of uranium, I think? I forget what the mission specifics said. But before we can get there, I have two patrols to do in the Troy system. They are both of the same 5.5 points, so I have thereby got paid doing the same job twice, which is always a good thing, and to be surpassed only in privateer by being paid 3 times for doing the same job. And there will be the usual motley assortment of talents impeding my doing of this job. I have switched format slightly for these videos. We're now doing edited highlights in the same way as I do for Wing Commander 3. The reason for this is that patrol missions contain a lot of dead space, dead nav points, nothing at them, or just single talons. I don't think you need to see me fighting individual talons anymore. You've seen lots of that already, and I'm not going to get any worse at it, except maybe on one-off occasions. But if I do, I'll put those in. These were both no damage fights in which the talon died very fast, so I cut them out. So these fights are me on 2 talons. I don't actually take any damage in any of these either, and I'm beginning to wonder if I could cut those because these also follow a pretty predictable pattern. But for now I'll leave them in, and I think what I'll do is make a decision depending on the length of each video. This one's about 10 minutes, which is okay. I don't want to get too long because I tend to think that space combat games like this are pretty repetitive, so it's best if the videos don't get too long. And of course the fact that I absolutely hate editing audio is maybe a contributory factor there. Anyway, I suppose the difference now for me with these 2-on-1 fights compared to how they were at the start is that I'm a bit freer to use missiles on the first talon, and I'm learning a bit more about when to break off and so not get hit by attacks, which is something that took some learning. I'm also, I think, getting a bit more accurate overall. And there were a couple more of these.
Keep your eyes peeled for trouble.
This one was a bit more interesting in that it was a 2-on-2 that I wandered into. We've got 2 militia talons against 2 pirate talons. I don't think the militia really needed my help here, but
Militia to base. Enemy dispatch.
the pirates turned to attack me, so they deserve everything they get. I see I turned damage report on. This is caused by the fact that I was trying to target the new pirate fighter, and so I pressed the R key, which is target nearest enemy in Wing Commander Saga, which I have been playing. It is not the correct key for privateer, but I did forget which game I was in at the time. This will happen with increasing frequency, I suspect, though I'm slowly beginning to redefine Saga's keys to being closer to an actual Wing Commander game rather than something more like the free space defaults they start out with.
This crate's about to explode.
This is definitely making me better at the game. For example, when I redefined slide to caps lock, that made me massively better at the game straight away. Anyway, I will probably talk more about Saga, but not in this video, because now we have a first for the LP coming up. This talon will not last much longer, in part due to the fact that the Confederate militia pilot is much more accurate than I am. And following that, we have our first system jump of the game. These are slightly annoying in my opinion. You have to fly into the centre of this purple blancmange thing and press the J key. Though there's no light that lights up to tell you can make a jump, which is slightly weird from my Wing Commander 2 experience. Also slightly weird is the jump visualization. That, in other Wing Commander games, you just have the flash in one system and the flash in the next system and then you're there. Whereas here in Privateer we have that strange comet trail thing, which I haven't seen in any other game. I assume this is primarily caused by artists wanting something to do, but it is a bit weird. Anyway, I'm now in the Pender's Star system with 2 more firsts. The first time I've encountered 3 fighters at once, and the first asteroid field of the game. The 3 fighters at once proves to be relatively little issue, in large part because that one walks straight into a torpedo, and they support each other ineffectually because they are too far apart, and that one flies into an asteroid. I am assuming that these pilots are Vetros, because my brain thinks Vetros are worse than pirates. I have no huge evidence for this other than sort of anecdotally which ones I've had more trouble with. And I think it may be related in part to a line in Standoff where Squealer specifically comments about how numerous and how bad at piloting Vetros are, which may have influenced my opinion a bit. It's certainly true in Standoff, Vetros are very numerous in the missions in the Gemini sector and extremely bad pilots. Anyway, I am now showing off by afterburnering through this asteroid field. They're less dangerous than they are in Wing Commanders 1 and 2, where the asteroids are denser on the ground, but more so than in 3 and later games, which have larger but more spaced out asteroids. In another 2-on-2 fight here with militia and pirates, the militia do a reasonably good job in these fights actually. I think in both of the ones I wandered into, they would actually have won the fight if I hadn't intervened. However, being a seasoned Wing Commander player, I am of course a kill junkie, so I am going to intervene in these fights, even if the Red Crosses weren't flinging missiles at me, which they are. It seems a bit strange to me that the AI would start shooting at the player's ship when it's not actively engaged in a fight, but my understanding of how it works is that each of the factions in the game, so pirates and Vetros in this case, have a setting of neutral, friendly or hostile towards you, and when you arrive at a nav point with their ships, they will automatically attack you if their setting is hostile, whereas if it's neutral, they'll only fire back if fired upon. Anyway, so much Pender's Star. Nothing there of any interest to me. We were just passing through on the way to Junction, which is the system I'm now in. You get enough fuel for 6 jumps. I'm only going this far, so no need to stop and refuel anywhere. It's a bit interesting, I think, that you don't have to pay for fuel in Privateer. That's also true in Freelancer, but it's not true in Frontier. I think that in economic terms, I'm in favour of cargo runs having a cost to them beyond just repair, because obviously in theory if you were a good enough pilot you could avoid having to repair anything. Though I'm a pretty good pilot, I don't think, and I've never managed it yet. And I think that moving cargo from place to place should always have a cost to it, which it doesn't necessarily do in Privateer. Though these 3 fighters are endeavouring to make it have one. Fortunately for them, I am not being as arrogant as I was in the last 3-on-1 engagement, so they are largely failing at this. The other interesting thing to note here was that for the first time, at least for the first time I remember in Privateer, we had some cargo appearing after a fighter was destroyed. Now, I don't have a track beam, so I can't pick it up. And even if I could, I suspect, given that these enemies were pirates, that a reasonably large amount of it would probably have been contraband, which my understanding is that basically you can sell it in a lot of places, but if the Federation patrols find you, you're in a bit of trouble, they'll probably attack you. It didn't seem to me like that's a trade-off worth making right now, given that
This crate's about to explode!
I've got confident friendly. Of course, there may be sufficient money to be made from doing such things later that it will be worth it. But right now, I generally think no great loss. This Talon is running away, but then it turns around and decides to fight again. I don't know why it did that, because it doesn't make any tactical sense to go out for a long head-to-head when your fighter's almost destroyed. You want to stay in close to the enemy so they can't turn around fast enough to hit you. but I guess pilot tactical decision making is not that great. Anyway, this is Burton, our destination. There's a single enemy fighter here, and I decided I'd try and just rush past it to the planet and try and get into the landing zone before they could engage me. This wasn't out of fear of my damage. I've got some damage, but it's very minor, mostly to the targeting computer, which is kind of optional anyway. But I just couldn't be bothered to fight it. Unfortunately, it managed to close in on me and get a missile off, so at that point I decided I had to kill it, which didn't take that long, so maybe I should have just gone after it in the first place. Anyway, that's us done for this mission. Thanks for watching. I've been Alanin.
Now entering an automatic landing zone.
This has been Wing Commander Privateer, and I'll see you next time, where I guess we'll probably head for the plot.